Hey everyone, welcome to the lab. It's Brendan and today I'll be doing a Bladra Ultimate Sagitto Apollo deck. So this is your boy Sagitto Apollo. He's recently reprinted in VS51 as a campaign promo. His summon condition is relatively easy because all he needs is a red Contract Spirit or a Incarnate Spirit, in which case Bladra is red, so that's why we'll be using Bladra because most of these cards are really small on cost. So it's very easy to pull off all the reductions required for him. So let's get it started. So first we have our one Bladra. Of course, we don't need more than one. You can run more than one, but I wouldn't entirely recommend it because you really only ever need one. Other than, you know, having more for fulfilling reductions, but other than that, he doesn't really do much on his own. He needs his Contract Advance to use his second skill on attack. However, what we want him here for is because he's 0 cost and he can be depleted for other spirits to gain count and in turn give us value while setting up the Sagitto Apollo. So with Sagitto Apollo being our win con here, we're gonna definitely run 3 of him. So what exactly does he do? He has double ultimate trigger, which puts the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck into the grave or the trash. For each hit, you can destroy a 15k and below spirit, ignoring Brave BP+, which is really good for us because coming era, we have a lot of Brave, so this is quite synergistic in this sense against the meta. It's very fast too because if you have a double hit, he gains 1 ultimate symbol, which means he's currently 1, with a Brave that's at least 2 plus the double hit is 3. So it's level 4-5 effect. You can target one opposing spirit, you can target attack it, and if the targeted spirit is destroyed or depleted, you shoot 1 life, you send 1 life to the reserve. So he is quite lethal in the sense that you can attack, target something, then use the ultimate trigger to destroy it and immediately snipe 1 life. And if you get a double hit, he's 3 damage in 1 go, which is why I think it's really fast strategy. Just get Sagitto out as fast as possible and then tank the board because you're an ultimate and then they can't remove you, and then just keep pressuring for lethal damage. And that's why he's at 3. So next we run 3 of the mega deck cost 5. This is Zanzaniva, if I didn't recall wrongly. So his summon condition is relatively easy, you just need 1 count and above. So what he does is on summon you can destroy a 15k below spirit or a Nexus, which is really reliable these days because sometimes you just gotta nuke something and pass. But what comes in handy is his level 4 and 5 skill that lets you take back 5 core from trash. This includes your soul core to your God / next generation ultimates or Nexuses. So basically you just want to, for this deck you just want to pump it all on him, and then after that you can pay 2 core from another evil god. If you've done so, you can destroy a cost 3 and below Grandwalker Nexus, although we don't usually use that part. The text, the point is that we want our cores back on him so that we can make our defensive plays if needed, or get back our soul core to do more Bladra extensions, because soul core is good for advance mostly. So next what we have here is the Liger Revival. Oh, the glare is so strong. So Bladra Liger Revival is on attack burst or when your opponent summons spirits and ultimates through effects. So you can use this technically against the new mega deck which has been recently released. So what he does when you proc his burst condition is that he sends a Spirit Ultimate to the top of the deck, and after that you can summon him, but you need to fulfill his summon condition, which is having a cost 3 and higher Spirit or Ultimate on the board. So if you have Sagitto, it fulfills. If you have like a mid, any of the Bladra's mid forms, you can fulfill. Zanzaniva also you can fulfill. So basically it's quite easy to summon in a sense. What's nice is that he comes out fast, because if your opponent doesn't have a Spritzer, he basically just comes out. If you have Guyana Hoko, which is the Brave I'm gonna show later, he can swing, use his ultimate trigger, and he can refresh and become unblockable. And it's on block as well, so you can do defensive ultimate triggers so that you can burn out some resources as well. He's quite feisty also. Level 5 being 25k, so it's quite the fatty we got. So speaking of Gaia no Hoko, we run 3 copies of Gaia no Hoko, because this is technically an ultimate-ish deck. We want to have, you know, the most damage output as we possibly can. So go. The sad thing is that when he's not brave to the ultimate with the cross ultimate trigger effect, he becomes cost 0. The good thing about him is when you summon the ultimate, you can summon this without paying the cost. You do get hit by 0 counters, but if they don't have it, they don't have it, and then you just no, that's not Sagitto, but yeah, you can use Sagitto and then just attach and go burr. The other effect is that when attacking, your opponent cannot activate their burst. So this is like the older wording, so it stops Badger, it stops Score Emperor, it stops all the can't be discarded bursts that are very common this era. So your opponent needs to have a legitimately unaffected burst to be able to activate under this, or have some sort of hand trap to remove your spirit before activating the life decrease burst. But you already dealt the damage, so it's either they're dead or they're close to being dead. Yeah, so it's really nice. So next for our supports and draw, so first we have Febrani. Of course, every red contract deck probably should run this. Although it's been hit to 1, if it was at 3 I'll be running 3. But now that I think about it, 3 is kind of a break because we are supposed to be the fastest thing. Sort of fastest thing considering we're Bladra. So having too many is also not a good idea. So thank God it's been limited to 1. I don't need to think about it anymore. I can just play 1 and be done with it. So to support that, we also have 2 copies of what's this? 4th Bright Draw. So when you draw until you have 4 cards in hand, which is sometimes handy because sometimes we do get to really low hand sizes because we are Bladra. However, if your count is 2 or more, you can just straight up draw 3, regardless of hand size. Either plus or you plus even. It's either you plus or plus even more depending on your scenarios. So yeah, that's the good draw source we have. We also have 3 copies of the Edera Lava Sea Castle, blah blah blah. This is your draw 1 drop 1 Nexus. However, if you have 5 count or more, which the deck occasionally does get to in the like mid stages of the game, your draw stat, you get +1 draw, and you discard 1 normally. If you are at 5 count, you don't have to discard, and yeah, that's really all you want it for. And on deploy he gains 1 count, which fulfills Zanzaneva immediately. So yeah, great card to have for draw source. This also gets past the new Blue Judgment that has been recently released in BS54. I will make an updated list when the set drops like this weekend. So let's get that bread. So next up we have our Bladra stash. It's a really large stash of Bladra support. So let's go through them one by one. So first we have Dragochi. He's a 1 cost 1 reduction dork that has an on attack skill. When you have Bladra on the board, not in soul state, he has to be alive. So as long as you have a live Bladra, on attack you draw 1 at level 2, which is 2 core, which is cheap. This is if we really can't find the Sagitto and we want to like poke the 1 damage before you go for the 4 damage combo. He also can return back to hand when you contract Advent on a Bladra. Can't stack, but if you are able to stack multiple in a turn, you can just take back 1, take back 1, take back 1, sort of. But rarely that happens, so at most you'll be taking back 1, bringing it out, and then sacking it to Sagitto half the time. So that's really the purpose of Dragochi. When Returner Bladra comes out in BS64, I think Dragochi might come out for him. I think the only downside is that Returner Bladra needs to pay 1 core during main phase, then you can return, but this is like as long as you stack a Bladra, so it can be during attacks that you can get it back also. So I think this might be a bit better, but the Returner Bladra is also 0 cost, which may be naturally better in terms of like trying to flood the board so you can like have this, summon this, and probably the other spicy card that I'm going to show later on to spawn out your Sagitto. Next we have the contract advance for Bladra. For now, because I don't have Apollo Bladra yet, we will not be using Victory Bladra, instead we'll be using Garmindra. We late Emperor Bladra, and we are using Dragonitis. So the reason why we're running these three first is because Dragonitis is essentially a go second, draw 2, and put yourself at 3 count at least. So this sets up for a lot of your mid-game strategy, because you can clear Nexuses, you can clear small spirits, you draw cards, and the condition to advance is just as long as you have the Bladra. So very easy go second strat is to just go into him and draw 2 so that you set yourself up, and you deal 1 damage already, so that your opponent has to be fearful of your Sagitto, but they won't know because normally Bladra is a rush B go wide deck instead of a tall 1 punch deck. So we also have, of course, our Blade Emperor, because at 5 count he's basically hit the field, draw 2. So when he advances at 4 attacks, you can destroy 1 Nexus, the Nexus can activate his effects. Once per turn, if you have 5 count or more, you draw 2. So that's why Dragonitis is in here. So, no, that's Dragoshi, but yes, Dragonitis is in here so that it can facilitate this guy's entry. Because next turn, you can just go into him, swing, gain 2 count, draw 2, which is nice. And at the later parts, if you somehow manage to reach 5 count so fast, you can just stack him, draw 2, find your smaller stuff, or find Sagitto, and then you go for game there. Garmindra is a 3-off in this list because he's a 2-1, so he's cheap. The reason why he's here is mostly because he's cheap. He gains count, he draws on his OC, he spawns a cost 3 and below. You need to pay cost, but it basically is just you can use this on this trigger, spawn this, then you just get enough symbols for Sagitto. So literally everything in here is meant to just turbo Sagitto. Okay, so for another important card in most contract decks, we have our 3 copies of Lavender. Very self-explanatory. Yeah, when your count increases and your count is 2 or more, you can, if you haven't summoned any Tri-Magi Deity this turn, you can spawn him by paying 1 cost. So, and when he does come down, you gain 1 core to your spirits and you draw 1 card. So essentially, if my Bladra swings with stack and then he gains 2 count, he gives me 2 count, I can just spawn this and draw extra cards, gain extra core, and it's a rainbow symbol as well. And when my hand size is 5 or less, it's unaffected by opposing effects, which does help for certain matchups, but not always, because sometimes they'll just clear this and that buff is gone. However, it's just for speeding in bodies for Sagitto, as we always like to do with this list. So the spicy sauce we have is our 3 Rumen Sky Sword. The reason why he's in here is, of course, he can open top 3, search for Sagitto. He's literally here to search Sagitto, because no one else is a Tri-Dragon deity in this list. So he searches for Sagitto, he's a 1-1, and he has Spirit Soul. Which means when I'm summoning an ultimate, he gains 1 extra red symbol. So that means technically him plus 1 Bladra plus another red symbol is 4 reductions for my Sagitto. Literally, that's all there is to it. It used to be expensive when the Tri-Dragon deity just came out, because there was all the hype around the Tri-Dragon deity deck, and having a 1-1 searcher in Mugen is like, whoa, so good because the deck's curves are whack. But in Bladra, it's a lot stronger because the deck is really naturally low curve. So having this is just, whoa, more speed. It's also just good to have cheap stuff for attackers, because Bladra is naturally like a go wide deck, but we are trying to have like a little bit of both with the Sagitto. Okay, so next we have a bit of support and defense. So for our burst, we run 1 copy of Score Emperor. I want to run 3, but I only have 1 here in Taiwan with me at the moment because I just bought this secret. Check out that shot. I think I might have posted this. I hope I did. If I didn't, then yeah, you get to see it now. Look at that bad boy. So what he does is, when your opponent increases their hand size, for each card increased by the effect that you use to trigger this on, you gain that much core. So it solves the core issue that with Sagitto being 7 cores, it's very heavy sometimes. So having this early means your later turns won't be so painful. And if your opponent's hand size is 5 or more, you can remove 3 cost 7 and below spirits or ultimates, ignoring their brave cost. So it sort of, you know, works in the mirror, because they will always try to do funny shit like, oh, attack with Sagitto. Okay, if they have Gaia no Hoko, I can't say anything, but if they have this, and then they use the other Bladra to draw cards, and then you can pop the Sagitto. So that's not entirely relevant because mirror matches aren't that common for now. However, the gain core part is what we are really here for. And then 2 copies of Badger. I realized 3 is quite bricky in the sense that I somehow will have like 1 set and have 2 in hand, which I don't want to see because I don't want to be like so slow. The deck is supposed to be the fastest thing around, so I guess 2 copies is like the worst case scenario is I see 1, I don't see the other. Great means I see all my other stuff that I want to see. If not, the worst case is 1 and 1, and then I can have like over 2 turns draw 4 cards. I think that's okay, but yeah, we want speed, so we are not running that many bursts other than these and Febrani. So we also have our burst killer, the 2 copies of Spritzer, because like I said, a lot of bursts nowadays, the painful ones for us is like Liger and a bunch of other things. Farom also hurts us a bit because we are Korean heavy deck, so we want to get rid of that option, and just in case we ever hit into some on technically we can use these on Badgers, we just don't discard the Badger, and the whole point of it is to just make sure the Badger doesn't get a free draw too, in a way, because if we have like at least 3 core, we can deplete our small thing if it's not our chibi, of course, and we get him out, put him to 4 core, and then the Badger loses his target, so mission accomplished in some senses. Yeah, so that's really the purpose of him, is to either dodge Badgers or kill bursts that I don't like. So that's why I said 2, because I realized having 1 sometimes may not be enough. Because I did run 1 at one point, and then during all my games at the tournament I didn't draw into the 1 because I was running only 1. So now I am a very faithful 2 Spritzer guy now. Speaking of one-offs, we run 2 one-offs because we again don't want the deck to be so clunky. We want gas. This deck is all gas. So you have the 1-0 barrier and the 1 burst wall. Reason, like as I mentioned before, I am speed. This is like Lightning McQueen on steroids, sort of. So we just want to get all our pieces fast, smash in with Sagitto fast, and win fast. So that's why I made this deck. 1-0 barrier is because it's a 0 counter that can be used on ultimates. So if you have this in your starting hand against the Javad deck, you might have a very easy time against that list, because half the things they do is spawning for free. So it's like you see their Gaia no Hoko, you don't like what they're doing on their board, get rid of the target, and then you save yourself some problems. Or they use other things that, you know, summon without paying the cost, and you just disrupt everything that they are trying to do to you, and then you push for game. So 1 burst wall because we need the 1 unaffected card in hand sometimes. And of course hand trap ending the attack step is always nice. I would want to have like 2 and 2, and then swap out some other things, but I think the deck requires more speed more than not. So that's why there's only 1 each. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this very quick deck profile. Again, this is like not saying that this is actually the fastest deck, but it's pretty fast for a deck its curves. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this list. If you like what you see, hit that like and comment. Hit the subscribe as well, because if we hit 1,000 subs, I will be doing a giveaway in June with greatest record as the prize. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. See you again in the next one. I'll be doing BS64 deck lists as well, hopefully when my carton hits my doorstep very soon this week, and a bunch of other things, so I'll make videos on that. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you again in the next one. Jane!